If there's one thing people do around me that bothers me more than anything else, I would say it's when they use self deprecating language to describe themselves, their abilities, or anything else having to do with their person. And what I mean by this is when people say things like, I'm lazy, or I'm stupid, or I just can't get this. I don't like when people do these things because the more that you say these things about yourself, the more these things are likely to become true, right? That own self fulfilling prophecy. And before you say, oh, he doesn't understand what he's talking about here, I spent most of my life using this type of language towards myself as well. And I can tell you that not once did it ever help me in any way, shape, or form. And I would love to know how that would ever help you. The word misalignment, I think this is more of the focus that you got to look at. And the reason I say this is very simple. Sometimes when you're heading on a path that isn't for you, that is so against the grain for who you are as a person, your interest, what you care about, and everything else, you subconsciously resist that. You don't realize that you're stopping yourself. You don't want to jump in and read that extra book. You don't want to go put those extra hours. You don't want to go and be involved in this extra activity because deep down, there's a misalignment of you and whatever this activity or thing may be. And instead of kind of acknowledging that or getting to that point where you accept that as the reality, you double down. You keep going, you keep trying, whether that's for an intrinsic reason, meaning that you told yourself you don't want to quit, you want to stay with this thing. And since you said it, you're going to do it. Or maybe you have pressure from other people around you, your friends, your family, or the people you care about and look up to. They're telling you, don't quit, don't stop doing this, or oh, not now, you're almost there. When in reality, if you look deep down, you're misaligned with it. See, the problem is not that we're incapable, not that we're stupid, not that we can't figure things out or apply ourselves and accomplish things. It's that a lot of times I think we're picking the wrong things to try to go after in order to do this with. If you're a person that is very artistic and creative, you like to draw and write and do these things of extreme expression, but you've been working in corporate America for a decade, doing mind-numbing work that you don't care about, that you don't like, that has nothing to do with you as a person, very opposite of creative and very numbers driven, you may sit there and think like, well, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get my numbers up? Why are my evaluations of things not going well? But the only thing you can think about all day is creating. When you go home, you're thinking about a creative lens. You want to write, you want to draw, you want to paint, you want to do whatever it is that is in alignment with you. So no one's having to force you to do anything because there is this intrinsic motivation within you that wants to do that. And no one else has to tell you to do that instead. Let's say you're a person that's very numbers driven, right? You love data, numbers, you love sales, you love competition and such. But instead of getting a sales job or something else like that, you work in a nonprofit where you set up meetings all day, and you do like some administrative work and such, things that don't really challenge you, things that there's no competitive nature there. There's no numbers and statistics and such like that could be implemented into your day. So for you, that feels like a misalignment, right? So when you go home, you're like bringing out the Excel sheets, you're like doing data on random things that you like in your everyday life because you want to get that fixed because that is where you align in terms of what you like. You can do this with relationships too, right? Like maybe you're a person that's very adventurous, outgoing, loud. You like to go out to events, travel, and do all these things, but you've been in a very long-term relationship with somebody that just likes to stay at home, doesn't want to do anything, is kind of quiet, reserved, and is just different than you. There's nobody that's wrong in the situation, but once again, it comes down to not anything being wrong with one person or their goals or the things they care about. It's just a misalignment of where you currently are versus who you are deep down. In fact, a lot of things that I talk about on this channel, if you've ever seen my other videos, kind of come back to the central concept, right? It's about being authentic and finding a way to be your true self. And I've mentioned this before a few times. It's not just something that you wake up and you just know off the bat. Most people are not like that in life, contrary to what you may think because you see things online. Most people are in a constant journey of just trying to figure out who we are, what matters to us, and where we want to find ourselves in our life. I think a common thing that happens is up front in our lives, we expect that we're just going to be able to find this thing, stick with it, and that's it. If you're lucky enough to do that, great. But seeing as most people are not like that, what's more likely to happen is if you, after years, find something that you do like or things you care about, you'll stick with that and you'll do that. But then you'll hit this wall because people don't reevaluate or take inventory every so often in life to see what's changed, if anything, right? So maybe 1 year you're passionate about something means something to you, so you're aligned with it. You stay with this company, you work. But then everything changes. And you don't ask yourself the question of, did the mission change? Did these goals change? Did something else change? You just stick with it And then one day you're wondering, like, why am I miserable here? Why do I not want to do the work anymore? Why do I feel like I'm not good enough anymore? What happened? You're in the same physical, building, you're in the same company or whatever it may be. But the problem is that some of their goals or their ideas have changed. So what was once aligned is no longer aligned. So if you're not constantly doing things where you're taking inventory of your current status with anything in life, and you're doing these to certain, periods and things too, what's going to happen is you're going to lose many things to the crack. And it's easy to become complacent. It's easy to be comfortable in something and to not move on and to think that we're still in a good spot. This is why it's important to constantly evaluate these things. I think once you realize that it's not anything with you, there's nothing wrong with you, you're not lazy, there is no missing blank of you for which you're not working the situation. It's more about making a situation work for you. I'm a big fan of taking walks, getting out in nature, and just kind of being alone with your thoughts so that you can reflect. So many times we're so busy, we're so inundated with so much stress and things going on in our life that it is easy to not take these moments for us. But the less that we take these moments, the less likely we're going to be able to stop and catch ourselves to realize, like, wow, I'm not aligned to this anymore. These are not my goals anymore. I don't like this company anymore. This relationship doesn't work for me anymore. I don't love living in this city. And so therefore something needs to change. And then you have to move on to ask yourself the most important question of anything else I've talked about here. Who am I? Like, what do I care about? What are my goals? What are my values? Like, what do I believe in? What matters? And is my current situation on a path towards that or a path against that? Because if you find that things that you're doing in your everyday life are not in support of where your ideas, your goals, your values, and everything else are, this is going to cause that misalignment. Ask yourself, what can I do right now at this present moment to start getting to a path of being aligned? Notice how I say start getting aligned, because the expectation is not just to flip a switch and all of a sudden you're just aligned one day and everything's perfect. If you set those expectations up in your head like that, you're going to set up for disappointment because it's not realistic. Everything else that I've mentioned in most of the videos has been similar to this, where it's like taking one step at a time to get towards the goal that you want so that it's bite-sized and it's doable and it's attainable. It's not things that are completely unfeasible for you to be able to take care of. Talk nice to you. Be nice to yourself. Talk to yourself like you would want to talk to one of your friends. If somebody you cared about came up and asked you something or told you, hey, I'm stupid or I'm lazy, I will never get this, I can't do it, whatever, something's wrong with me. Ask yourself, what would you tell them? It's easy to put ourselves down. It's easy to be negative towards us. We're not likely to do that to other people. So treat yourself as you would want to treat them, because you deserve that kindness. And once you give yourself that kindness, go back and ask that question like I mentioned. Who am I? What do I get lost in for hours doing? If I could teach a class about anything to anybody and people would show up, what would I want to teach that class about? And who would I want to be my students? If money, time, and fear of judgment were all of a sudden out of the window, what would you do with your time? Every single day, what would you do with it? What type of things do people come up to you and give you compliments on? Or what kind of things do people ask for your advice on, to the point where when you hear that, you just get super excited and you're like, I need to get into this conversation. I think when you ask yourself more questions like this, and this is by no means an exhaustive list of perfect questions, but when you start asking questions like this and you reflect, take a walk, think about what your answer is, you might think it's like this and everything's kind of married up. But I think what you'll find, your interest and such are over here, and your alignment is somewhere out here. So they're not quite in sync. So what you do is by finding what your interests are, finding your alignment, putting them together, you're solid. I know it sounds like it's oversimplified and it's not meant to be, but I'm a firm believer that while things in life can be nuanced, you can take steps that are very general and very simplistic to at least kind of get yourself started on your path, or course correct the path that you're already on. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. You're not lazy. You're just misaligned. And that's it. And I don't care what everybody else tells you around you. I don't care about the pressure that people are putting on you or how people may be negative or just not saying great things around you. I don't care about that, because I'm here to tell you that I know you can do it. Keep your head up. Stay positive. It's going to be all right, just like it always is. If anything else, I hope that this at least encourages you to go out there, take one step, look at things and see where the alignment is and where it isn't. And before you know it, you'll be back on your path as you see fit. I'm going to see y'all here in the next one. Take care for now. Have a good day. Peace.